Welcome back to Common Sense. I'm Wendy Bell. Okay, this just in. Breaking news. The media who pretended Joe Biden was mentally with it, who called him sharp and seasoned and fit and focused, and my personal all-time favorite, wait for it.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
These people who lied about the short steps, and the stutter who never questioned all the vacation time, who called him a bold and vibrant leader. They want you to forget all about that. Forget what they said about Joe Biden. Forget what they didn't say about Joe Biden. It's all under, water under the bridge, according to some of these new books coming out that these reporters really want you to buy. Well, let me tell you, when CNN and Axios pair up to tell the truth and to throw the Biden White House, which they covered for, under the bus, you can imagine it's gonna be good. Maybe our guests need some help pre-ordering their copies. I'll help them out. Welcome back to Mark Kaye, the host of the Mark Kaye Saves the Republic podcast. Jennifer Kelly, who hosts All American Radio on AM 970 The Answer out of New York City and New Jersey, and also Chris Arps, who co-hosts the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on News Talk St. Louis 101.9 and 94.1 FM. Jennifer, you're up first. CNN's Jake Tapper and Axios reporter Alex Thompson. They couldn't report honestly about Joe Biden's collapse for more than 4 years, but in 4 months, my goodness, they have cranked out this book, Original Sin: President Biden's Decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. These reporters, Jen, say they were all over the story from the word go. Listen.
Well, Alex Thompson and I were on the case, as were lots of other reporters, trying to figure out what was going on behind the scenes.
They were trying to find out, Jennifer. Anybody with half a brain knew.
Yeah, they're like O.J. Simpson out on the golf course looking for the real killer all 4 years of Biden's presidency. Look, these reporters should lose their jobs because their bias toward Joe Biden was so great that it rose to the level of being inaccurate reporting. So they should lose their jobs. But you know who else should lose their jobs? Were the various staffers that were briefing these media hosts on Joe Biden's condition, that were saying there's nothing to see here. And you know why they should lose their jobs? Because they will, if a Democrat wins in the future, they will go on to serve in the White House again. So I believe we need some Watergate-style hearings on Capitol Hill. What did they know, and when did they know it about Joe Biden's declining position? And we still need to know who was signing the auto pen.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think we all knew in 2019, 2020. In his tell-all book, Mark, Jake Tapper drops this significant news that President Biden's advisors considered putting him in a wheelchair right after he announced he was going to run for re-election. So he was so feeble, they wanted to stabilize him. But when Lara Trump said Biden's difficulty speaking made her kind of uncomfortable and concerned, I remember Jake answering like this.
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive.
Oh, Laura was telling the truth, Mark. Jake was running interference, and now he wants you to buy his book, okay?
Yeah, I mean, Jake Tapper, look, he's got to make a living now that Joe Biden's out of the picture. Sure, he's not going to get paid for protecting the Biden White House anymore, so he might as well get paid doing something else, and that is throwing them under the bus. And yes, he's now out there claiming that he was a victim just like the rest of us. White House advisors and Joe Biden aides were lying to the media this entire time. Whenever he asked anyone in the White House if Joe Biden was okay, they said yes. And of course, Jake Tapper, the in-depth reporter that he is, just took them at face value. That doesn't seem like something you would do unless, of course, you're getting a big fat royalty check from a publisher. But what's interesting to me is that they claim now that he didn't even recognize George Clooney. There are people living on remote South Pacific islands who pray to volcanoes and spearfish. They know who George Clooney is. And Joe Biden, who received millions of dollars from the guy over the course of his political life, couldn't remember him. That's a little suspect.
You know what? Yes. And Chris, don't blame Jake. He says, blame the Biden White House for lying to the American people. Here you go.
The bottom line is the White House was lying, not only to the press, not only to the public, but they were lying to members of their own cabinet, They were lying to White House staffers. They were lying to Democratic members of Congress, to donors about how bad things had gotten.
Yeah, Tapper says he didn't learn of Joe Biden's many problems until after the 2024 election, when Democrats started finally talking about it. Like, come on, this is ridiculous, Chris.
The most amazing thing to me about this fallout from Jake Tapper's book is all the media is trying to say they didn't know what was going on. It was the Biden administration that was lying to us. They're covering this guy up close and personal every single day, seeing him. They know nothing, but we're seeing him at the Easter egg roll hunt. The Easter bunny has to drive him away from the Easter roll line. We're seeing him, the Prime Minister of Italy, have to direct him back on stage. He's acknowledging Congress people who are no longer alive, but they saw nothing, but we can see it on TV. It's amazing to me that they are saying this. Do they want to have any credibility left?
No, that's excellent point. You know, and it seems, Jennifer, that the Jake and company, they want to put Joe Biden out even further into pasture than he already is. Like, he's an easy target. So why come out with this book? Why now? And I wonder, how's it already a #1 bestseller? It's not even out yet. But why do you think?
There's a lot of CYA on the NYT bestseller list, I'll tell you that. And this is part of it. This is the new in vogue peer pressure thing to do is, they're kind of cleaning this up before the next election cycle begins. And that'll begin about a year from now in the summer of 2026. People will start running for the White House again in 2028. And they're going to have to answer for this. So they're hoping now, as some candidates do, you just write the book, you get this admission out in the open, you kind of take out the trash now in hopes that next summer, when that presidential race does begin in earnest, that the American people will have forgotten. And by the way, sad is this? That Jake Tapper has to admit on national TV what a terrible reporter he was, that he couldn't make his way on the various White House press secretary lies that the Biden administration were telling. That just doesn't mean you're biased. That means you're a terrible, terrible journalist.
Right on. And Mark, I'm going to give you the last 45 seconds here, my man. Like, I know we're all into this and we all pay attention. Does everybody see this, or is it just us? Everybody knows this is ridiculous, right?
Well, it's really interesting. Evidently, it just proves again that CNN and MSNBC and all of these reporters, they don't really have their finger on the pulse of the nation, because as we've all pointed out, all you had to do was go online or turn on the TV. And yes, as soon as you saw Joe Biden fall on his backside at the Air Force commencement ceremony after tripping over a sandbag, or as you pointed out earlier, calling out dead Congress people at rallies, that was a clear sign. Shaking hands with 100%. Ghosts live on stage is not something that normal people do. So maybe now they'll start looking at these images instead of just making up their own narratives.
100%.
Remember, they were cheap
Love
fakes.
having you guys. Thank you. Yes, that's right. Cheap fakes. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Please come on back.